Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Just a second, everybody. Let me make sure I am hot on all my platforms. Uh-oh, that's the wrong thing. Okay. Hot on YouTube. Make sure we're hot on Bookface. We are hot on Bookface. Look like it's a still image, but assalamu alaikum, everybody. Y'all let me know if my sound is good before I start cooking, before I get in this kitchen. Make sure the sound is good. Inshallah ta'ala. I'll do comments and stuff. Well, we can put the comments. I'm not sharing the screen, so it ain't nothing to look at. So I'll put the comments up now. Drop your boy, assalamu alaikum. Some help the algorithm, help African America, Muslims get out there, get into the algorithm, even though we know that God cannot exploit us. So it's never a popular conversation. Good enough, inshallah. Before I start cooking, Abdul Nasser, what's going on? Drop a share, a like. We sharing like silly videos. So when we getting it on with Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, uh, show love. They ain't showing love for me. I mean, technically it is, but show love for the sake of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. And I pride myself with having conversations that people are afraid of and people shy away from. My sound good? Somebody said no. No what? No, don't share it. No, y'all can't hear me. I've been Nasser, can y'all hear me on TikTok? This disrespectful. Okay, Abdul Nasser said yes. All right, good. I'm gonna start cooking. Inshallah ta'ala. All right, so we ain't doing nothing ratchet today. We're back in the classroom. Alhamdulillah. So try to breeze this as fast as I possibly can, and then we're gonna get to the questions, comments, and concerns. Let me pull my notes up. I ain't gonna share like these notes are kind of all over the place, so I normally share. And if y'all ever get lost on TikTok, I'm streaming live on YouTube. Sure, I'll keep that live and on Facebook. And on Facebook, I'll do Muhammad ibn on Facebook. If y'all get lost on TikTok or if my haters start reporting it on TikTok, cut it off. Y'all can join there. Alhamdulillah. So I ain't gonna share my notes. I'm just gonna um, breeze through them as easy as I possibly can. Inshallah ta'ala. I probably will like this thing is ongoing. This conversation will be ongoing as far as um, the school of Ibn Abdul Wahhab. Uh, so I normally share the notes with people who would like the notes, or whatever, but they kind of like all over the place. Like I know where they are in my head, and people who study y'all know what I'm talking about. So uh, as I'll format them more correctly if people want the notes. Inshallah, brother Sameem, wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Okay, inshallah, we get started. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. So, what I want to talk about is we have Ahmad Wade, what's going on. Uh, so I want to talk about this. As y'all know, I've been essentially trolling the situation with Salafia and the Philly Muslim whole thing. I hope it's all jokes. Nobody's taking this thing personal. And I'm not, I'm not an offensive person, but it's a sensitive topic. But overall, since I've been in the whole Dawah scene, every time we start to try to build when Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, the Hanbalis, the Maturidis, and the Ash'aris, those are the people who make up the term Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. When we start building, as we are building, um, al-Wahhabiyya, as-Salafiyya, whatever you want to call them, they tend to be the ones fixed on destroying stuff. Somebody shoot firecrackers outside my house. My son is out there. Yeah, um, so whenever we get going and we try to gain traction, we try to gain momentum, et cetera, we got big. We got people who come in and trying to destroy, and they make it take videos. Next thing you know, you have all these people um, calling you a grave worshiper, calling the followers, the Hanbali followers, the Maturidi followers, the Ash'ari followers. And for those people who do not know, these are the three approved of schools of Aqidah that represent the belief system of Sunnah Jama'ah. So, you know what? What I'm thinking? I don't think I can. I was just thinking about if I've been trying to get to reach Instagram. Instagram's so weird. I don't have 1,000 followers on Instagram yet, so I can't go live on Instagram. I just started really using Instagram last year, like being serious on it. Got 800 followers. Y'all go follow me on Instagram, Brother Computer, so I can have 1,000 followers. I can start going live on the Instagram. I was able to go live on Instagram, but uh, I was able to go live, but they just recently changed the rules. I don't know if Instagram will take my camera or they'll use the other camera. I don't know. I don't know how it works. Let me see. Let me see if it'll work and I could just play it. Uh, a lot of the trolls come on Instagram. You know. Let me see. See if it'll work. I don't even know. My bad, y'all. Hold on. I should have had this already figured out. Oh, I forgot. I forgot. I'm sitting here telling y'all I can't go live, and I just tried to go live. It's telling me I can't right now. Okay, forget it. Okay, my bad, y'all. Okay, anyway. So while we're trying to build per Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah, and we're trying to teach. We got a Salafiyya / Wahhabiyya coming and spreading so much uh, uh, misinformation, bad information that listen, Gemini. Uh, don't never get it twisted. Like I said before, what is agreed upon from the beginning of scholarly time in history, Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah are the Hanbalis, the Maturidis, and the Ash'ari. So some people, even when they get way deep into the Aqidah, they don't exclude the Hanbalis, even though I know I got some Hanbali friends, but there is a scholarly debate that says like technically the Hanbalis don't have a systematically formed school. And they don't. Not like the Maturidis and the Ash'aris. So whenever you go to read about Aqidah and you want to know what the Muslims believe, it's going to 90% of the time, it's going to come out of one of those two schools. Now, the Hanbalis have opinions, strong opinions on certain matters, like the divine attributes of Allah, subhanahu wa ta'ala, what they are, what they're not. But we don't know of any like full school with like so many writings. Wa alaikum salam, Sharif Abdullah, with so many writings dedicated to the Hanab that really like spoke on so many different current events and issues in regards to belief, what's belief, and what's not belief. So I want to address the elephant in the room, and the elephant in the room is that these groups, the Hanabila, the Maturidis, and the Ash'ari are pagans because we believe in a concept called tawassul. Now, for those people who do not know, now first and foremost, let's understand this. These are these are scholarly issues that are not supposed to be made public. So the fact that Ibn Abd became famous for publicizing certain scholarly nuances and differences is not permitted. And then the people who followed him in succession actually killed people. And this is how Salafiyya and Wahhabiyya came into power. Like they were not elected by the Muslim majority scholarship and say, oh, yes, Ibn Wahhab is the new mujtahid of this time. He is the mujaddid of this time. No scholar said that. Now, let me clarify, because you'll get all the copy and pasters that'll come in the comments of this video, and they'll copy and paste biographies that are written by scholars, Wahhabi scholars that came after Muhammad ibn Abd. Before Muhammad ibn Abd, he didn't have any references. Even we have letters that were preserved. He tell you something. I see why you left me. I told you I was doing this video this morning. But even his own teachers, we got letters that were preserved by the scholars of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, who letters that his teachers was like, hey, this man is not qualified. We warn against him, and he is an innovator, and he should not be taken from. Sorry, I forgot to turn my phone off. Hold up. So this is the reference that we have from Ibn Abd al-Wahhab. We don't have any scholarly references for him to speak on one matter or the other. He was educated through the Hanbali system, which is weird that he left the Hanbali system, which is one of the three approved schools of Aqidah, and which is one of the 4 approved schools of fiqh. He left that school and just say like he went to the desert and then came back like a mujtahid, looked like a scholar to the highest degree. I'm gonna save y'all a lot of reading and a lot of research. I've been reading and researching this issue for at least 10 years plus, and it's still ongoing. He went to the desert and he came back. He went and studied with some scholar that nobody knows of, and he came back with all these wild ideas. That's literally the gist of what happened. Muhammad ibn Abd. Now, of course, supporters are not going to say that. They're going to, oh no, he was the sheriff. He was the mujahideen. He was saving the people from shirk. Okay, we're going to tackle that today. We're going to tackle these allegations that Ibn Abd was saving the Ummah from shirk. We're going to tackle it. So, and we're gonna tackle it from an educational standpoint. We ain't just gonna hoop and holler like we like to do on videos most of the time. So this is a problem because a Salafiyah as a whole doesn't see us as their brothers or their sisters. They think our blood is lawful. They think that our wealth is lawful, and I've been told that my marriage is invalid and that my wife should be taken away from me and married to a good Salafi brother. Now, y'all got to clean your own house. I don't want to hear one person come and say, no, that's not what we believe. Okay, well, they getting this stuff. I'm getting it. I get this on the daily, and I've been getting this for years, which is what makes me fight them back via these videos, these refutations. I wonder where these ideas come from, and they're learning these ideas in the Muslim Family Center in Philadelphia, some of those places, and Birmingham and London, and some of those guys, the Abdurrahman Hassans and so on and so forth. They're getting it from Germantown Masjid, Hassan Samad, and these. You very rarely catch those big figures making these strong statements like that. But if you go to their conferences, which most of the time they don't broadcast their conferences, and they say these fiery things in these conferences or inside of some of their study circles. And the next thing you know, here comes all of the students of knowledge of Wahhabiyya. They see a guy like me and like, hey, yes, stay in the creed of Imam Bayhaqi, and then, oh, you're a grave worshiper, you're a mushrik, you deny the attributes of Allah, and they haven't touched. And every single time I engage with these individuals, I always find that they get these ideas from false propaganda that was written within the school of Wahhabiyya. It was none of this stuff is inside of our books. Like you won't find in one Ash'ari book that we only affirm 7 attributes of Allah and we deny the rest. But on the daily, I have Wahhabi people in my inbox and in the comments of my videos telling me that I only affirm, because I say I'm an Ash'ari, I only affirm 7 attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, etc., to the end of it. So thank y'all for providing me content, because this is obviously some stuff that we have to speak on, that we have to teach the people. And I say that this is a problem because it's too widespread. It's been at least 6 to 7 years that I've been hearing this on a daily basis and all the time. So as opposed to trolling the situation, we're gonna have we're going to get an educated understanding of this matter of tawassul. So they use tawassul to delegitimize the Islam of the Muslims at large. There is even some statements that have not been confirmed, but some people confirm the statements, some people don't confirm the statements. But I would lean more towards these statements being confirmed, because you can see the way that the Salafi Wahhabi people behave aggressively towards the Muslim masses. When the Muslim masses don't follow or they refuse to follow Ibn Abd Wahhab, and the Muslim masses have their own scholars and their own scholarship, their own ideas of Aqidah, their own fiqh, and they're not in need of the Aqidah and the fiqh of Ibn Abd Wahhab, they get offended. And when they get offended, this turns into all this name calling and disrespect, and you're an innovator, you're a hypocrite, and some even say, put you outside of Islam for believing this or not. So the root of the issue is that Ibn Abd Wahhab was the first person to raise concern about the issue of tawassul. I'm not even going to put that on Ibn Taymiyyah. Scholastically, we would say Ibn Taymiyyah was the person who first raised an issue of tawassul. Mind you, Ibn Taymiyyah was in the 7th century. He was in the 7th generation of after the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he was not from the time of the Salaf. He was actually in what we call a mutaakhirin scholar. In the circles of knowledge, he was from the mutaakhirin. He was not from the muqaddimin. The muqaddimin, then the students of the salaf, which we would probably say that is that first maybe 150 years after the three blessed generations, and then that other half is the mutaakhirin, and they're all significant because these. And y'all hear me talk about this all the time. We have the salaf, the first three blessed generations, and close to it, and then we have the khalaf, their success, the people who follow them. Um, and then I need to say this, and I need y'all to know this, that khalaf, like we don't get our knowledge and our Islam if it's not for the khalaf, if it's not for the third, fourth, and fifth centuries. No, excuse me, fourth, fifth, and sixth centuries of scholarship of Islam. Now, the only person we see that is like against everybody else, uh, against the ijma of everybody else, was Ibn Taymiyyah. Once, when y'all hear me talk about Sheikh Ayyub, rahimahumullah, all the time. Once I had my first Sufi book came from Ibn Taymiyyah, so screenshot that. I mean, screen record that. Like most Salafis don't even know that Ibn Taymiyyah was one of the biggest, greatest Sufis that ever lived, and that was my introduction to Ibn Taymiyyah was through his book Tazkiyatul Nufus, and I love that book. That book was so deep to me, man. Alhamdulillah. Great book on soul, great book on Sufism. I like it. I love it. We actually own an original copy. That's actually belongs to me. I gave my copy away when I was in prison. But some brother owned me a book and was like, "You don't even know, you don't even know who yeah, it is." I was like, "I don't even care. This book is good right here. This book is helping me change from the inside out, and that's what Sufism is. It helps you purify your heart." So, um, Um, me and that brother got into a big argument or whatever about the book. The brother actually like physically took the book from me and gave it to Shit. You gave the book back to me. He was like, "Go ahead and read it and tell me what you think about it." I said, "Okay." So I read it and I told him what I thought about it. And then I asked Sheikh Ayub was like, "What's the big problem with Ibn Taymiyyah? Like, why is the brother so bent out of shape about Ibn Taymiyyah?" And he said that Ibn Taymiyyah is the biggest fitna of this generation. And he he said that because it's like some people accept him and love him and follow everything, and other people reject him or reject things about him. And he did. I mean, I got a nice book here, breaking some of that down via Imam Amin and his online bookstore. Alhamdulillah. Um, but Ibn Taymiyyah did have some wild opinions, and it's a scholarly conversation. It ain't for the masses. Um, but we only find that Ibn Taymiyyah was like going against the masses with certain issues. That was never a problem until he came. Um, After that, Tawassul was not a problem. Even like Ibn Abd came in what like 12th century. He came 1200 years after the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Tawassul wasn't a problem until he started hooping and hollering about it. Now Ibn Taymiyyah did testify that some people started to do Tawassul the incorrect way. So he restricted it. He didn't outlaw it or anything. He restricted it per usuli principles. He didn't ban it and say that it was shirk, and didn't say that it was kufr, and that these people are really not Muslims and they must be fought and brought back to Islam. This is the tone of the language that you see from Ibn Abdul and I said that to say, um, this extremism, uh, 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 it came from Ibn Abdul and we see it today and the followers of Salafiyah and the followers of Wahhabiyya, like the real card carrying joints, we call them guys or Johns, like how y'all say in Philly, the real card carrying Johns, we call them Wahhabis, flat out. The more moderate people that just say, yeah, this is not proper, this is not the way to Salaf, those are Salafis. So the extreme Salafis are the Wahhabis, and the laxed Wahhabis are Salafis, if that makes sense. That's how Ahlus Sunnah views that group. Um, so, to say the least, the issue, this big beef, and it shouldn't even be a big beef, and we're going to get into that, inshallah ta'ala. The issue was tawassul. And honestly, when I'm studying the life of Ibn Abd al-Wahhab, it seemed like this was the fight that Ibn Abd al-Wahhab could pick to legitimize himself and justify himself as a scholar, because he wasn't accepted as a scholar by the scholars that already had seats in Mecca and Medina, in the Hijaz, like the people who were elected to lead the city, to lead those cities. Not even in his own city in Najd was he elected by the people and put as the venerated sheikh. He was never put there for that. Like he actually fought the people. He fought the Muslims, killed the Muslims, and then took over like city by city by city. Um, this is how Ibn Abdul Wahab came to power. Like he didn't come to power any other kind of way. And the Wahhabis will justify it by saying, "Oh, he was saving the people from shirk because they were using tawassul and they were doing tawassul and X, Y, and Z." And then on the more balanced scale of historical context, um, you look and say, okay, like if 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 tawassul was major shirk, how come Ibn Abdul Wahhab 1,200 years was the only one to catch it? So that negates 1,200 years of established scholarship, which goes against ijma, and it going against ijma is haram. Alas, it's not. So he went against the majority. Ijma, that's what ijma is. It's the majority. Uh, so the problem, so for the people who are not hip and the individuals who are just on the outside seeing Sunnis debate Wahhabis, the Wahhabis debate Sunnis, and the Sunnis saying the Wahhabis are wrong, and the Wahhabis saying that the Sunnis are wrong. For the people who don't know, tawassul is seeking a means to get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the approved manners that the scholars gave to us. So there's a famous hadith, and I'm going to read, I'm going to paraphrase the hadith. Let me put my notes up. I'm going to paraphrase the hadith, and this is what everybody is fighting over. Okay, so there's a hadith that was collected by some muhaddithin, and it was collected. Oh shoot! It was collected. Um, it was collected by various scholars. Um, for my notes on the page. Okay, so some notable scholars who collected this hadith and certified this hadith, some scholars from the Salaf who were the students of the Salaf. So the Salaf. So let's keep this stuff in context. We all know we're supposed to be following the Quran and Sunnah according to the way of the Salaf. This is the position. This is what everybody is fighting over. This is what everybody is claiming. One group says the other one isn't. The other one isn't doing it, and the other one says that this group isn't doing it. Everybody's fighting. What is this? What is the reality of this? The reality is we all know that the Prophet Muhammad والسلام, exhorted us to follow the three blessed generations. That is the Sahaba, the Tabi'in, and the Tabi'in. Now, after that, those three blessed generations, we have the time of the Salaf. This is a time period. It was never a group. It was never a people. It was never a minhaj. It was never a manhaj. It was never a madhab. It never was ever. Um, it's a time period, and the scholars will you will see if you look it up, they will define it as that time period of those three plus uh, those those three generations after the three blessed generations. But we can also say that the Salaf was the Sahaba, the Tabi'een, the Tabi'een, and the Khalaf was that time period of the Salaf. That's where we get into the nuance of it all. You can go either way with it. So uh, that time period, the fourth generation, the fifth generation, and the sixth generation, we have so many hadith works, we have so many fiqh works, we have so many aqidah works that we don't find in those first three blessed generations. The time period of the Sahaba, the time period of the Tabi'een, the time period of the Tabi'een. Now, why is that? Um, it's not because certain ahadith and fiqh and aqidah, aqaid, whatever, didn't was not there during those first three blessed generations. Not because of that. It's because of, first and foremost in Islam, we have an obligation to follow our scholarship. We all know the ayah. The ayah Allah Ta'ala said, ask the people of dhikr, and people will know if you don't know. The vast majority of us are ignorant. We do not know. We must ask the scholar. We must follow the scholars. When you ask somebody something, you are essentially following that person. Because when you don't know, you open your mind and your heart up to this person. When they give you the answer, you just blind follow this person. And there's nothing wrong because we trust our scholarship. It's weird that this idea popped up that we should not trust the scholarship. And please do not troll comments about, well, Imam Shafi'i said if the Sahih Hadith is my mother, please do not play with me. Don't play with me. Save yourself the trouble by parroting these quotes. I can assure you that's not what those mean. I dealt with that on several. So we trust, like, what kind of religion has scholars that you can't trust? That doesn't even make logical sense. So, in the time of those three blessed generations, the Sahaba, the Tabi'een, the Tabi'een, they uh, they 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 wrote things, they wrote and formulated systems for belief and fiqh that were relevant for issues that were relevant in their time periods. Vastly, this is our sunnah. It doesn't mean that certain hadiths and certain fiqh books and X, Y, and Z that we see later in the time of the Salaf/Khalaf, depending on which context you speak. Those latter three generations, um, because these conversations pop up in the third and the fourth to the sixth, seventh century, doesn't mean that those concepts and principles did not exist in the first three blessed generations. So it wasn't an issue. You find the remnants uh, uh, of these conversations once you go through some of the works, and that is a job in and of itself. So, um, um, circling back around the matter of tawassul, this hadith was popularized, um, for lack of a better term, in the time period of the Mutaakhirin, or the time period of the Salaf. And it was collected by Tabarani, Bayhaqi, and Suki, some of the big names in that third to sixth generation, fourth to seventh, third to sixth generation. Now, I must emphasize that we don't have access to the first three blessed generations unless you go through those latter three generations. Um, like the vast majority of the hadith scholars were Ash'ari. Like the vast, they were Ash'ari, or they were associated like prior to. Uh, they directly from before Imam Ash'ari came, the individuals like Bukhari, Imam Ahmad, Ibn Kulab, etc. Imam Ash'ari is like one person removed. There's like one person in between those individuals. So Imam Ash'ari, like it or not, was in the chain of transmission of these ideas. And that's not something that people like to hear. Imam Bayhaqi was an Ash'ari. Nawawi was an Ash'ari. Suki was an Ash'ari. Ibn Asakir was an Ash'ari. Ibn Ashir, he was an Ash'ari. So like 90% of the chains of transmission in fiqh and aqidah and whatever else have you, the Ash'ari scholars in those latter 300 years or the generations were the ones that was computing all of the hadiths that we read. Everybody reads the Arba'in of Nawawi and don't even know Nawawi was an Ash'ari. He was a card carrying Ash'ari. There's various works from Imam Bayhaqi. These were the authorities at the time. There was nobody arguing against and about and saying that tawassul equated to shirk, and this put all the Muslims outside of Islam and made us pagans, must be fought, and Islam must be restored to its original form of Tawheed, like Ibn Wahhab did. So that's the funny thing is that during the generation when this stuff became a real conversation, a real issue, as it was not an issue in the first three blessed generations, like they knew the hadith, they confirmed the hadith. They didn't have a problem with the hadith. You don't see nobody calling shirk. That's the first thing the first evidence against the Salafis and Wahhabis. Like if y'all say y'all follow Quran and Sunnah and come into the way of the Salaf, and y'all say that y'all follow the first three plus generations, well, why don't we have any statements of Malik, Abu Hanifa, Shafi'i going against Tawassul? And this is important because Tawassul is the dividing factor between these two groups. So if we can put out there the understanding that Tawassul has been a concept that has been accepted by Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah forever, then maybe we can convince our Salafi Wahhabi brothers to just let it go. Let it go. Cut it out. Let's get to business and let's stick together and get to business to establishing Islam around the entire world and protecting the Muslims from the non-Muslims, the aggressive non-Muslims. There are wars happening because we don't agree on this stuff. There are wars made on the Muslim people from east to west because we are not united, and we were disunited at the emergence of Ibn Abd al-Wahhab and the establishment of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. This is important. Okay, so the proof and the evidence for Tawassul collected by those scholars that I just mentioned. There's actually a hadith. So there's a popular video of a popular Wahhabi sheikh named Hassan Samadi. He was debating some student of knowledge who was an Ash'ari. He was like, give me a clear proof, a clear one ayah, one hadith. And they didn't really let that brother talk. And then it seems like they like to invite people to those hostile environments. And look at the entire debate, like people were like shushing the brother from responding. And even a few times you can find Hassan Somali and Bilal Davis shushing the brother. And that's very intimidating. You got all these big gangsters around, 30, 40 of them, and it's just you. or it's 2 or 3 of you who travel to the masjid. Then you got all these people with their phones out, and a couple of times, like if you watch that conversation, that debate, it was disturbing. But they was like, no, 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 brother, we don't need to hear what you have to say. It's a shirk. No, 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 brother, no, no, please, no. I'm only going to give you the ayat. I'm only going to give you the hadith. We don't want to hear what you have to say. We just want you to hear us. Like they said this, and the whole thing is staged. Um, um, so uh, this is the evidence. There's the hadith, and people differ on the hadith. We must be honest. The scholars have differed on the hadith, and we're gonna talk about that in a second. So the hadith is called the hadith of Uthman ibn Hunayf, anhu. He was a Sahabi, and that's what the hadith. That's what people call the hadith, or people call the hadith of the blind man. So look that up. It's there. The hadith goes as such. A blind man came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, "Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to cure me." The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "If you wish, make dua for you. If you wish, you can be patient." The man chose for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to make dua for him. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told the man to say, "Oh Allah, I ask you and turn to you through your Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, uh, the Prophet of mercy. Oh Muhammad, I turn to you to my Lord regarding my need." Uh, And then okay, so that's one version of the hadith, and then there's another version of the hadith. That was while the Prophet ﷺ was alive. This is significant. We have evidence. We have a hadith. The difference of the hadith, like I'm not going to get into that. That's a whole video by itself, but just an overview of. There was some differences about not about the contents of the hadith, but about the chain. There's one individual in the chain that some people question. And this is natural hadith literature. It's not an evidence for Salafi Wahhabis. Like, see, look, this man right here, he was no good, and then go on and on and on and on. Because nobody before Ibn Abd Wahhab, nobody did that. Even to me, probably so he articulated in a scholarly manner to other scholars in reference to this. So it's a scholarly manner. It's not something that belongs in the hands of us and that we should concern ourselves. So, but we have scholars who certified it, and they certified it for many different usuli reasons per usul al-hadith, which we cannot get into. That's a scholarly issue matter. So I just want to note here that the scholarly evidence support is mostly there. For me looking at it, from me looking at it, and all of my power to be, it looks like there was a majority that agreed on this, and we don't find a lot of we don't. There's no talk of the scholars of the Salaf rejecting this hadith as fabricated. The only talk of is whether it's weak or not. And we know that we cannot use weak hadith to create aqidah principles of belief. You can use a weak hadith if it's supported by other stronger hadiths or stronger positions that are known, which is also going into usul. You can do that, but even that is argued and debated. So that that is essential to know because there is no concrete evidence of one or the other. So you cannot. Ibn Abd Wahhab was wrong from a scholastic standpoint to use this to deny this hadith and then create an aqidah issue out of this hadith that we cannot it has not been validated for us to be able to use it for aqidah or not. This is a scholarly mistake that he made because his scholarship was in question to begin with. Like I said in the beginning of the video, if you start dealing with these heavy matters, and you're not trained to deal with these heavy matters, you're going to make these types of mistakes. And the evidence is no scholar, only him, had a problem with this hadith. And no scholar ever said, we throw this hadith out, this hadith is fabricated, it is never to be followed, and this hadith equates to shirk, major shirk. And if anybody believes in this hadith, they are kafir. That was the position of Ibn Wahhab, and that is the position that has been adopted by the Salafis and the Wahhabis. And this is what has created the problem between us. This is what made the divide. They made the divide. We did it. So it must go without saying that that hadith is, and our scholars have actually used this hadith as evidence that tawassul is a certified concept within the system of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah. But for those reasons, they did not classify tawassul using the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam as a means. They did not take this hadith and put it in any of their aqidah sections. All of the books that it might mind y'all, Ibn Abd came 1200 years. He was 400 years removed from when this issue started to circulate. And when he got his hands on some of the material somehow, some way, when he got his hands on that material, y'all have to remember, he was not a mujtahid himself. He was not a muhaddith himself. So he had to rely and blind follow the works of the mujtahideen, the works of the muhaddithin. He was he was not a scholar. He was not a mujaddid, so on and so forth. He knew a thing or two. Yeah, I know a thing or two. Does that mean I'm a mujaddid and I can start making rulings left and right? No, I can't. Neither could Ibn Abd Wahhab. Just because you beat a bunch of people up and you're willing to kill them to prove your point does not make you a scholar. So, and Imam Shafi'i, about that, Imam Shafi'i is on record. Some Hanafi brothers was giving the Hanafi brothers overall gave Imam Shafi'i a hard time, and he appreciated that hard time that they gave him because they were testing him as the new mujtahid. The mujtahid that was before him was Malik and Abu Hanifa. So it was like they were challenging him. So there's some Hanafi brothers, students and others giving Imam Shafi'i a hard time about him not going to do jihad. He was like, if you're so sincere, why are you not fighting for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to uplift the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his messenger? And he brilliantly responded to them and said, if I thought that my sword could do what my could do, then I would have. Don't let that go over your kufi or okay. So you going further. That's the first part. So the hadith, there is a hadith about tawassul that legitimizes it. Uh, I would say with the majority, but there is a group that does not accept the hadith. Okay, cool, whatever. So now we have a matter of ikhtilaf. So this is not something concrete that you can go and base a fatwa that this is major shirk and you can kill the Muslims and you can take their property and take their wives and children, like Ibn Abdul believed and his followers believed, and they did. So that's the first thing. The second thing that everybody is fighting over, and this also comes from Uthman bin Hanif, and this narration such after the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed away, a man came to Uthman ibn Affan, but was not being attended to. So Uthman ibn Hanif, he came and stepped in and told him, go make wudu, pray, and say this dua, the dua of the blind man, the same one that we read in the hadith before. Then Uthman ibn Hunayf, It's said by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I did not teach you except what the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam taught us. This is the wording that Tabarani rahmatullahi alayhi had gave us. So we have evidence for both. Now, mind you, it's evidence that our scholars collected it. And one thing that a lot of people don't know about the Muslim thing is when they put a hadith up under a particular subject, like Babu XYZ, Babu Salah, Babu Wudu, Babu whatever, then when they put the hadith, this is their evidence for that topic. And this hadith scholars, when they brought these hadith, they put them in their books up under visiting the Prophet or devotional acts or dua. So in their hadith collections, they never put it under what validates your belief system, what invalidates your aqidah, your belief system, like Ibn Abdul Wahhab did in his book. We got an original copy. It actually belongs to my wife. She's an OG. OG. Queen Salafia. She has since left Salafia when she's seen the proof of evidence. She got y'all scholarly books. I got a copy. I lost it. I don't know where it's at. Mine was a revised version, but this is an original copy. I saw that Abdul Majid said, "Man, we should auction this thing off to the Wahhabis. It's probably worth like $2,000." So Ibn Abdul Wahhab was making a point, and we're going to refute some of the points that he made when he was using ayats of Quran to go against tawassul. And he was the first person to do that. I don't think even Ibn Taymiyyah did that. I'm not sure, somebody correct me, but as far as I know, Ibn Taymiyyah just gave fatwa against it. He knew the proofs and evidences that were for, and as far as I know, he accepted the narration from Uthman ibn Abd. It's a lie when it's dead. But Barani, Bayhaqi, Subki, these are the popular people at this time. Ibn Abdul Wahhab was nowhere thought of, and there was no group called Salafiyya. There was no group called Wahhabiyya in their time period that was saying that shirk, this is tawassul equals shirk, and this is a kaba'ir, and all the stuff that you hear them ranting and raving about on the internet today. This was a known issue, and they were collectors of the hadith, and they put this in those categories, not as a refutation against it, but as support for it. And it must be said also that the muhaddithin, a lot of times they would use hadiths that were weak because they themselves knew and their students knew the other positions that strengthened that particular hadith. So they would put this hadith there because it has the wording that supports a particular position, in which there's another hadith or other ahadith, other places, or that they knew, or that the study circle, they knew of, that maybe the wording was not to the point that they were trying to make, but the wording of those other hadith proved the wording of this hadith. So they want to use this hadith because it has the wording that I'm trying to get the point across to. A lot of people, 90% of the people who are calling you a grave worshiper and calling you an innovator don't know that. And it's because they have fallen out of line of our ijaza system that has been established since the time of the Prophet, and they're missing these beautiful points. Now, you got some who know the classification and so on and so forth, and they try to use them to their own benefit, of their intellect, like Al-Albani, but There was nobody over top of al-Albani. Like you use that for the wrong and this hadith for the right. And this, he was doing it on his own. He learned the classifications of hadith were. He learned he learned a little bit about the narrators. Like he was able to reach certain narrators and whatnot, but he mixed all this stuff up. And you would only know that if you were already founded, if you are founded with the classical usul of hadith, you would know that then. And there's a few different schools of usul al-hadith, and they're all accepted. This has all been tested against time. There's been hundreds of thousands of scholars that came before al-Albani and Ibn Abd, and then we got two people who were not trained in hadith, who were not trained in fiqh. Well, they were. Ibn Abd was trained in fiqh, but they were not trained in usul al-hadith and usul al-fiqh. And then they're going against all these hundreds of thousands of scholars who were trained and who were in that system of ijazah going back to the Prophet. That's okay. So we have established that there is evidence. Okay, so just capping that off. I'm looking at my notes. Just capping that off. That part off to establish the evidence for tawassul. Um, our scholars, per ijma, uh, uh, have agreed that this is a matter of ijtihad and this is something that is permissible to do. And this is not a pillar of aqidah. So if it's not a pillar of aqidah, the acceptance or the rejection doesn't qualify or disqualify your iman, like if the Wahhab believes and like Salafiyya slash Wahhabiyya believes, per the Wahhab slash Ibn Taymiyyah. And and um, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's right. So to bring to give the evidence for the ijma, because I know that the Salafiyya slash Wahhabiyya, I know that they extol Ibn Taymiyyah and Ibn Abd I know that they. So to prove that we should not take Ibn Taymiyyah by himself, or we should not take Ibn Abdul Wahhab by himself, and further, we should not take the both of them together to go against the scholars. We're gonna give y'all what y'all love so much, ayat and hadith. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah 4, ayah 115, Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim, ومن يشاكك الرسول من بعد ما تبين الهدى ويتبع غير رسول المؤمنين نوله ما تولى ونصله جهنم وساءت مصيرا. That's the ayah. That is the ayah in the hadith for Rasulullah. I'm sorry, I'm zooming it in and out of on my computer screen. Let me make sure I okay. Just want to make sure I ain't push no buttons. I'm just trying to zoom it in. I think my eyes are starting to go bad, man. I've never had problems seeing stuff in my life. I've already, matter of fact, they can't be. It must be just this stuff because I just had a physical confirmed once again that I have 2020 vision. The Prophet ﷺ said in the hadith, لا تجتمع أمتي على ضلال. So as far as the ayah, so we have an ayah that supports we have an ayah that supports Quran because a Salafiyya slash Wahhabiyya only accepts ayah and hadith. They don't accept anything from scholars, even though they quote scholars against us, which is a contradiction in in their school. Whatever. Like I've had them tell me what the ayat says, and then I'll be like, "Well, Imam Malik said about the ayat. You're telling me what Imam Malik said. I'm telling you what Allah said." So this exists in y'all schools. I need y'all to clean house. And then I've seen them argue with me and say, well, I forget who said it. One of the Salafi Wahhabis, um, Ibn Uthaymeen said that a scholar is not a proof. I have one that was willing to punch me in the face if I believed otherwise. Uh, but then they'll say, "Oh, well, Imam Ahmad said this, or Imam Barbahari said this, or Imam Bukhari said this." It was like I thought that y'all don't believe. Like, which one is it? It's all mixed up. Like, do y'all only take Quran and Hadith, or do y'all believe in some scholars and not some scholars? Like, the funky list is hard to keep up with nowadays, man. Okay, anyway, tell you, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala said the believers. Oh, no, no, no. Allah Subhanahu wa Taala said in the. Man, I lost. I lost my screen. Hold up, hold up, hold up, hold up, hold up. I lost my screen and my notes. Where'd my screen go? Screen. I pushed the wrong button. Sorry, y'all. Hold on 1 second. Cause I don't. I'm terrified to mistranslate the Quran. I lost my screen. Let me find the ayah so that I have something to guide my translation of the ayah so I don't misquote it. 1 second. Push the wrong button somewhere. Okay. وما يشاكك الرسول من بعد ما تبين له الهدى. And whoever defies Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi wa sallam after guidance has come, clear guidance, ويتبع غير سبيل المؤمنين, and whoever follows a path that is other than that of the believers. نُوَلِّهِ مَا تَوَلَّى, we will let them pursue what they have chosen, what they have been chosen, uh, uh, and we will burn them in Jahannam, in the fire, in the hellfire. وَسَاءَتْ مَصِيرًا. So this is evidence for the collective majority. It must be noted that the collective majority is the scholars. It's not the Muslims as a whole. Even though the Muslims as a whole follow the scholars, and we have as evidence for that as well. Scholarly, we none of the scholars of Ahlul Sunnah threw out the issue of tawassul, never threw out um, the hadith that some scholars have used to legitimize tawassul. And from the Sunnah, uh, the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam said, لا تجتمع أمتي على ضلال. My community will never agree on misguidance. So there's an agreement amongst the scholars of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah that this issue is something that is permissible to us, it's something that's permissible. It's not something that has been rejected. It's not something that has been considered shirk, paganism, and it does not legitimize fighting the Muslims, treating the Muslims bad, calling the Muslims bad names. People call me Booty all the time. When they mad and they can't prove it. Like we'll be talking. I was talking to Wahhabi. I've been talking to him for about 2 days, and we've been sending proofs back and forth to each other. And when he gets mad at me, he calls me a Kabuli. We were talking about istiwa, and how Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, this interpretation of istiwa, and we wasn't even talking about Tawaf. So every time he gets mad at me, he calls me a Kabuli, a grave worshiper, because of this. So it doesn't warrant the disrespect and the bad treatment of the, of the Muslims. So closing up that part of discussion and going into some evidences, because like we say, the Salat Wahhabis, I'll say, oh, we only walk the evidence. But we got some proofs and we got some evidences. Y'all been hearing me say so many times that what we find in the time of the Salaf does not match up with what Ibn Abdul Wahhab built and constructed. It does not match up. And what they say when they mean, oh, you look at the hey, it's only ayats, it's only hadith. Yes, it is. But that angle of these ayats and the hadith, why Ibn Abdul Wahhab wrote the book Tawhid was because his makeshift ijtihad was that the Muslims had fell upon. He had to save the Muslim world and the Muslim government at the time from worshiping idols. And he accused the Muslim world at large of worshiping Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. And we've seen, I don't know if anybody, if most of y'all have been involved in the interaction with the Salafi Wahhabis, and you all in the hadiths, like the hadith Rebecca said, if any of you worship Muhammad, Muhammad is dead, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is alive and will never perish. They send you this. You say, if you don't agree with them on, say, hey, listen, I believe Tawassul is legit. You say Tawassul is legit, they're gonna send you that. So this is so good. Don't so they since we cooking and we turning up the heat on them, I don't want them because one thing that I've noticed in debating and discussing with the Salafi Wahhabis, and this is why I really start debating them live, is that they'll say one thing and then when you're proving wrong, they'll change their position. And then they'll go find another hadith or ayah and hide behind that hadith or ayah to try to deflect the conversation. I don't want to let them out of this. I don't want to let them out of accountability for this because they've created a major fitna and turning the Muslims against each other. You don't find the three schools of Aqidah and the fiqh, and they are all together. You don't find us fighting against each other and making each other's blood halal and doing a refutation of the other. You don't find Shafi'i scholars saying, "Radul Hanafiya," about this, about this, about that. You don't find it. You'll find some discussions, and then the most that you'll see is like it's interesting that the believe this about wudu, and I wonder what their proof is. And then you'll find vice versa. You'll find some Hanafis. It's interesting that the Malikis have this position, but Imam Abu Hanifa, for Hamad, said X, Y, and Z. And they're bringing in proofs and they're bringing in evidence. It's like, oh, okay. And there's a famous story that I want to put here. A famous story. What was this? Not al-Awza'i. Shihab al-Zuhri. I believe it was Shihab al-Zuhri. One of the scholars in the chat, y'all correct me about this story. Y'all know this story. It's a famous story from Ibn Shihab al-Zuhri, one of Malik's big teachers. He was one of the seven fuqaha of Medina. If you know, you know. What's going on, Anthony? Ibn Shihab al-Zuhri met a man during Hajj who followed the Hanafi madhab, and he told him that he came from what is now Iraq, and he saw the man. Uh, uh, he saw the man make two salams out. As people know, the Malikis, we don't make two salams out. We only make one salam out when you're ending the salah. And uh, Ibn Shihab al-Zuhri, he pulled the man to the side and was like, hey, man, let me holler at you. He's like, "What's up?" He was like, where'd you get those two salams from?" The majority of the Muslims now, they do when they end the prayer, they say, "Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Assalamu alaikum." Okay, this is well known. Uh, that's not the Maliki position. Ibn Shihab az-Zuhri asked him, he was like, "Where you get that from?" And the guy gave him a sound chain of narration. He said, "I got it from my grandfather. My grandfather got it from X, Y, Z, X, Y, Z." He gave them the sound chain of transmission. Ibn Shihab az-Zuhri, he was like, I know that chain. I recognize that chain, but I never heard that hadith." And man, now mind you, Ibn Shihab az-Zuhri is a mujtahid. He's like the highest scholar rank. And the man asked Ibn Shihab az-Zuhri, he said, "Do you know 100% of the hadith opus?" He said, "No." He said, "Do you know uh, three-quarters of the hadith over 75%?" He said, "No." Uh, he said, "Do you know half of all of the hadiths?" And Ibn Shihab az-Zuhri said, "Yes." And he said, "Okay, we'll put this hadith in the other half that you don't know." Alhamdulillah. So, uh, so, uh, so if somebody doesn't know something, doesn't legitimize or doesn't delegitimize the position. Ibn Shihab az-Zuhri, he laughed. He laughed, and he didn't have nothing for the man. Now, imagine nobody knows who this man was. This was just some regular dude, some Haji. He was there and making Hajj. That was it. And he tricked. So and this is like this man said he knew the half of the hadith opus. We don't even. I don't even know what percentage. Somebody correct me. Um, somebody correct me. I don't think we even have 30% of the actual hadith opus. I think that the hadith gave us what hadiths were, founded in Islam, and you know, that's it. So, you going further, we're gonna stand on proof. So let me open my notes back up. And I'm getting close to my close. It's not a lot of comments. Let's take a break because I have some evidence from Kitab al-Tawheed when Ibn Abd is using certain ayats against Tawassul to prove that any Muslim that believes in Tawassul is a mushrik, is a pagan. And I have the side by side of a classical scholar, a classical tafsir scholar, never said Ibn Kathir, rahmatullahi alayhi. We're going to put what Ibn Abdul Wahhab, I'm going to challenge the Salafi Wahhabis um, to pick Ibn Abdul Wahhab over Ibn Kathir. Maybe that'll be part two because I'm already at an hour and 13 minutes. Look at the comments. TikTok be so gangster with the comments. Lord have mercy. There's a lot of comments. What's going on with each? Something freshie out of don't consider no one to be a dispute unless their action deemed to be okay. Uh-oh. Y'all, if y'all watching on Facebook and YouTube, y'all got any question about the presentation that I just gave? Y'all can go ahead and look through the comments on TikTok. Spider-Man. What question is it that you asked? Hmm. Asking for a release and started. Mexicans. Abdul Maliki wasn't an Ash'ari. Who, Mish, who is Abdul Maliki? Who is that? Yes. Wadud Wali Abdul. Yes. Imam Malik was the first one to compile for us a one. The Holy Spirit, John. You're wrong. John, you are correct. Jesus is alive. Believe that. Newsflash, Giovanni. Mitch said Imam Malik wasn't Ash'ari, was he? Um, brother, that is not the topic at hand. Imam Malik wasn't a follower of Ibn Abdul Wahhab either. What do you have to say about that? He wasn't a Salafi. Imam Malik was not a Salafi. What do you have to say about that? Meech, bring me proof that Imam Nawawi was not an Ash'ari. Real man talk. I like the name. I seen you pop up on my page, and I was like, I like that name, and I sent you a request. I was like, just because I like that name, I believe that. I think you should have a real man talk. Yusuf Hakwa, Alex Salam Abdullah. And Josh Barker said the Prophet Muhammad SAW was in the Epstein files. Let that you silly dude. Imagine, gosh, I am too, man. Trying to, I think your name is Mo. I'm trying to put a straightener on it, man. And we can get, and as long as the Salafi Wahhabi. So let me say this: like, there is no maturity Ash'ari beef. Like, like the Ash'aris and the Maturidi's know that the Athagir, we know they have their viewpoint, and I know that we have our viewpoint. And we have some views to say, hey, listen, we don't think that's approved, and they have some views that they say that they don't think it's approved. And we're good with that. Um, um, the problem is the Salafi slash Wahhabis have adopted the name Athari, and they are not the Atharis. The Atharis are the followers of Ahmad ibn Hanbal, not the followers of Ibn Abdul Wahhab. Like they believe, and the defining feature is they believe that the outward confirmation of Allah's attributes is real, and in reality, the Hanbalis who coined the name Athari, and it was started and founded by Imam Ahmad when the Ash'ari and Maturidi thing was starting to really cook up, even though Imam Ash'ari and Maturidi did not live with Imam Ahmad, but a sheikh who was connected to Imam Ash'ari, who Imam Ash'ari was connected to, Ibn Qulab, Imam Ash'ari is from his school, who is the father of Kalam. Uh, him and Imam Ahmad had a scholarly difference. There's no record of Imam Ahmad saying Ibn Qulab was a kafir, a mushrik, a muqtadir. There's no record of that. He agreed with his positions, and vice versa. And the fact of the matter is that Hanbalis, they do not believe that Allah's facts, his attributes are real and like actual, like physical, like this. When it says hand, Allah's hands, they don't believe it's an actual hand. They believe in the ayah and say the ayah is real, the ayah is haqiq, but the, they don't put a form to it. They all say bilake without a muqabi. So they negate that. But the Salafis, for some reason, don't understand it, nor do they understand it. Nobody from the Prophet ever said they knew the true and actual meanings of the sifat of Allah. Nobody ever said it's okay to disagree and have your views. It's not okay to call people pagans, call people grave worshippers, make people's blood lawful. I done had so many Salafi and Wahhabis want to threaten to kill me just because I don't hold their viewpoint. This is what motivates these videos and this conversation. Emancipated branding. I'm not the one doing a broadcast. Where did you ask? Emancipated branding. What did you ask? All right, I'm gonna wrap this up because I don't want to make these too long because it's going in and out. I'm not talking on some of these parts. Can y'all still hear me? One up slime. Can y'all still hear me? I don't see too many comments on Facebook and YouTube. So, Walaikum salam to the last shot right Tali. Amigo, you crazy. Okay, all right. I heard you. See you, slime. Definitely, amigo. Definitely. You're right. Amigo, you're right. You're on the correct minhaj. Wahhabi is a derogatory statement, because Ibn Abd Wahhab, it should be shameful to ascribe yourself to to the school of Ibn Abd Wahhab because he wasn't a scholar. He was somebody who wanted power, killed the Muslims because he wanted power. That's the gist of it. We have letters that scholars wrote in real time that were preserved, that were reporting what Ibn Abd Wahhab was doing. He's like the only one in history that did that. Malik didn't kill anybody to become the king of the Ibn Taymiyyah himself didn't kill him. As a matter of fact, Ibn Taymiyyah fought with the Ash'ari. He fought with the Ash'ari to uphold the Muslim community and make sure the Muslim community. He actually fought war. So this should tell you that that y'all's biggest boss at the end of the video game, Ibn Taymiyyah, he didn't fight against us. He had his scholarly viewpoints, and they had theirs against him. Okay, whatever. We shake hands, walk away friends. He actually fought with the Ash'ari to keep the Muslim community um, um, united. It makes you wonder, why do the Wahhabiyya want to fight other Muslims? They don't want to fight the non-Muslims, but they want to fight the Muslims. Makes you wonder. So it is a derogatory term to be called a Wahhabi. It literally represents somebody who's not following the Sunnah. So the people of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, they have labeled these individuals because they won't give it up. They have labeled and say, okay, he's a Wahhabi. We write him off like that. Yeah, don't pay attention to that. He's a Wahhabi. That's what we think of y'all. Just because y'all got all these wild ideas that was all innovated after Ibn Abdul Wahhab came. And since Ibn Abd came, people were saying like, "Listen, dude, stop." They got letters. Google the stuff, y'all. Google it. Do some research. Don't just blind follow some influential Islamic influencer that you see on YouTube. Actually, grab these books. Get in your computer and start. And you can find the books. You can find the PDFs. You can do some research. Ibn Abdul Wahab was a murderous psychopath. Wasn't a venerated scholar from Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Despite what the people of Wahhabiyya have told you, the scholars of Wahhabiyya have told you. And not too many Muslims get access to higher knowledge in the past, and today knowledge is even higher. I agree. Real man talking. That's what I try. That's what my platforms are all about. Is connecting a common man and woman to the higher understanding of Islam, so on and so forth. I've been able to be educated in a traditional manner, and most people haven't. That's the theme of my entire platform is to give access to that. Man, I feel like the Salafi Wahhabis have hijacked Islam via the internet. Because most people learn their Islam. It's just like most Muslims nowadays learn their Islam off the internet and off of reels. That's the only reason why I'm here is to try to balance that out. Because if you Google anything or YouTube anything, the first 10 videos and the first 10 searches on the search engine is all going to be Salafi Wahhabi sites on YouTube and Google. It's all going to be Salafi Wahhabi sites. So they've done a great job at working real hard to sway the minds of the people via the internet. And, I'm here to try to balance that out. Okay, so I don't really see anything relevant. Any questions, comments, concerns to the evidences, the proof and evidence that I provided here. Hey, y'all love evidences, and that's just half of this particular stream. He said, I'm Salafia and I take from Ibn Abdul Wahhab, and it's crazy. Y'all hate us so much. And these are Meech. This is the reason why I said Salafia is made up of just statements and slogans and parody slogans. We don't hate y'all. We hate the fact that y'all hate us. All the refutations that you see are y'all versus us. Like we be, like I said in the beginning, we be doing our thing, and next thing you know, y'all were not invited to the party. Like we like, okay, listen, this is Ashari Akida, lesson one, and here come all the internet trolls. Kabudi, you grave worshiper, your blood is lawful, you're Jahmi, you're Mu'tazili. Here y'all come trolling the comments and trolling the conversation. If y'all clean your own house, y'all won't find this hate. Y'all won't find this reputation that I got to step up and do. We should be taking this time. We should already be through the Aqidah of Imam Bayhaqi. I got to make 2 videos to clear up the Philadelphia situation. Salafiyah, is the what's haram, is a haram. I got to waste time talking about that because when I try to open up this book and say, okay, in chapter 5, Imam Bayhaqi said X, Y, and Z. We got Salafi saying, "Oh, we don't take from Imam Bayhaqi." Oh, my goodness, who do you take from Ibn nowhere near the station of Imam Bayhaqi? Y'all the ones created this fit for me, not us. And respectfully, me, like I appreciate you tuning in and hearing me out, but you're not adding nothing beneficial to the conversation. You're just going against stuff that I'm saying, not even with proof and evidence. Like I can invite you up here, put you on the camera, and I'm pretty confident that you won't be able to answer some questions that I've been asking Sloppy for 10 years and pull up the proofs and the evidence that come from the time of the Salah and actually add something to the conversation. As opposed to saying, y'all hate us. I follow Sheikh Abdul Ibn Abdul Wahhab. Like, that's just blind follower stuff. Blind follower, parroting slogans. That's all it is. Like how did Meech, have you ever I know we're upon the hawk, mashallah. Like this is blind following at its best. Meech, have you ever looked into it? Have you ever looked into where Ibn Abdul Wahhab got his fatwa from? It's usul. Have you ever looked into that, Meech? Please answer that question. There's a few feds in this chat. If y'all recognize that there's some feds and some agents in here, don't pay them no mind. Let them watch. Sister Trouble. What a name. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Amigo, they don't understand the basic concepts of change. Meech, that when you say y'all just follow, y'all take from the four schools, y'all do not. That is a lie. Slogan. Meech, y'all can have y'all viewpoints, but y'all viewpoints must be legit. Nobody said that nobody could have a viewpoint, and nobody could not be a mujtahid and be the fifth month of that. Y'all, you know, you're gonna get put through the ringer. You can't say just because you want to have a viewpoint and then attack all of the traditional viewpoints. Reach, are you studying the Dean seriously? Or are you just reading these pamphlets? This is a pamphlet. This ain't a book. This is a pamphlet. Even though it's thick as this, it's got 128 pages. Yo, look, chapter 42. It's not even a chapter. It's a page. Chapter 43. It's not even a chapter. Look, the next page, is chapter 44. Y'all take y'all's knowledge from books like this. This is a pamphlet. That's not a chap. Those aren't chapters. These aren't books. That's not this. It's a book on Mustalah al-Hadith that I've been working out of. That is very hard. It's like trigonometry. Look, I'm still turning and ain't got to it. And this is an introductory book. Look, still turning pages. Still ain't got through the chapter. Still turning. And look how thick the book is, and look how small the writing of the letters are. Still turning. Still turning. Now, and that was going backwards. Chapter 26. 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 19 pages just to explain one concept. And not even, we don't even, and the words are so little. And the, the verbiage that's in that book is very hard, very hard. Like your English got to be on point in order for you to understand the book, let alone your Arabic. Those are slogans. Y'all be cool, bro. Y'all ain't talking about who can whoop who. See, this is what I'm talking about. Y'all don't. Yeah. Why is the thing getting to that? Why does it always get to that? Nobody need to be whooping nobody, man. And everybody should keep it respectful. Remember the golden rule. I don't care what Ibn Abdul Wahhab said. The Prophet ﷺ said the Muslim is the one who the other Muslims are safe from their tongue and their hand. Let's not say stuff that that violates that. Forget what Ibn Abdul Wahhab talking about. Okay, there's too many comments. I don't see. You said we take from many scholars. You take from the four. Me. You saying that? You want to come prove it? I'll add you to this string right now. I'll give you an opportunity to prove that, and I'll prove to and I want you to give me the opportunity to prove to you that that is not true. Y'all don't take from all of the scholars. Y'all do not take from all four madhabs. None of y'all are that smart. My name's Saul. The one, is 20 a good time to revert to Islam? I'm thinking, no, you should revert yesterday. Where a lot of people make the common mistake of thinking that they have to be perfect, know everything, and have so much knowledge. All you need to know is that there's no God other than God, and that Muhammad is the last prophet and messenger. That's all you need to know. Now you Muslim. You build on top of that. You start learning then. Don't wait because you might die before you actually take your kalima shahada with yourself, and then you'll die as a non-Muslim, and you'll go to the hellfire, and you'll never come out. So be Muslim now. At this moment that you're seeing it, inbox me. The one, inbox me. We'll talk about it. Whatever you need to talk about to get you to take your shahada, whatever questions you need to ask, I can answer them. I help you and assist you with that, and we'll do it. We'll do it today when I do this live stream. But Hayatus Cindy, Abdullah ibn Ahim, ibn Saif, those are all Wahhabi scholars, yo. But those are all Wahhabi scholars. Those are not scholars from Islam. Ibn Qayyim was just as shunned by the scholars at large as Ibn Taymiyyah was. Matter of fact, Ibn Qayyim was more shunned than Ibn Taymiyyah. Yeah, trouble. Them be pamphlets that the Salafis follow. They'll be real books. This is a fifth book. This got a some Aqidah in it. A thousand years of Maliki scholarship. Y'all not learning books like this. Y'all read pamphlets and then coming out with those pamphlets like, oh, the Muslims are wrong. Oh, this is haram, this haram, this haram, and all y'all only need to follow Hassan Somali and turn it down. Everybody who don't, they're innovative. This is how it is online. Alaikum salam, Big Bashir. Meets the position of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah is that if a person adopts a belief that's kufr, that's what makes them a kafir. Not that they do an action. You said that I don't believe I'm not going to say the person isn't a Muslim unless he does an action that an act that he does an action that progress. That's wrong. I hope I hope I hope seven, I'm gonna get to your comment right now. Uh I don't know where you got that from. That's actually the belief of the Khawarij. Is it the Khawarij? Mu'tazila. Yeah, that's the belief of the Mu'tazila. That if you do something, you do one action that puts you outside of Islam. So that's a kufr belief. I don't know where you got that from. That's not the belief of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Seven said, why shouldn't I be Shafi'i? Because the Shafi'is are our sons, man. They're my little guys, man. Big Maliki. The Shafi'i are them our sons, man. Okay, I hear you. You say you do take from them, take from all of them. We don't just take from one. Meech, slow. Yeah, 20 is okay, the one. Yeah, you can be Muslim at any age. Yeah, they scholars of Meech. They scholars of Wahhabiyya. They're not scholars recognized by the Muslim majority as a whole. Not at all. Nobody referred to them. You got to think, y'all are alone. Y'all not tired of being alone, Meech. Y'all are alone in Saudi Arabia. Nobody else messes with y'all. The Malikis don't mess with y'all. The Hanbalis don't mess with y'all. The Shafi'is don't mess with y'all. The Hanafis don't mess with y'all. Don't nobody believe none of that stuff that y'all believe. Like y'all are outranked by the majority, and I just gave you the ayah and the hadith. Don't deny the ayah and the hadith. Huh? Stay with the majority, like Dr. Rasulullah said. True native Chris, what's going on? Alex, because you have to the scholar Asuna has already agreed, just like I said in the beginning of the presentation. Tawasul is an act of worship. It's not a furor in the aqidah. Nobody has ever said that, and that's because tawasul is an action of faith. It is not the object of faith. So I don't know where Ibn Abdullah learned his usul from. Why? Like tawassul is in like in the category of it's tawassul is in the category of raising the hands and slow. It's in that same category. Do it, don't do it. There's no punishment if you don't do it. There's your Islam and your Salah is still good if you do it. That I don't know why y'all made what's so a big deal and made this an issue, a dividing issue of the Muslims, and we got to fight each other, we got to kill each other. All of the scholars is ijma that to us is a permissible act. That's it. Y'all taking one action and saying this one action makes a person a kafir. Y'all don't have no evidence for that. None. The only evidence that y'all have for it is the grand idea of Ibn Abdul. And you can't bring me no evidence that Ibn Abdullah was trained in usul al-tafsir by any tafsir scholar in his time. Not the people that came after him, because y'all get tricky and y'all start naming people like you just did. You start naming 3 years, those three people, those names that you gave, those people came after Ibn Abdullah. So after Ibn Abdullah killed the Muslims, stormed Mecca and Medina and took it over, they said, okay, I'm going to force everybody to follow my ideas. Nobody adopted his ideas. He killed Muslims and forced them to follow him. That's history. That's what happened. And that's why only Saudi Arabia follows them and follows him. And now y'all are trying to intellectually kill everybody else by delegitimizing people with these slogans. We follow all of the schools, not just one. Like y'all better than us, but y'all follow all four in one. Y'all don't follow one school. How y'all can follow four schools? Y'all don't even follow one of them. I had a debate with a Wahhabi guy one time, and he told me that I proved him wrong in the middle of the debate. He said, "Okay, what is the first principle in the Maliki madhab? What is the first principle that qualifies disqualifies water?" He couldn't answer the question. This is ABC 1, 2, 3. This is stuff you teach the children, but he is proficient in his slogans in Wahhabiyya. Oh, we follow all the scholars at once. We follow all. We pick the best idea that came from one of them. No, y'all don't. 99% of y'all don't even know one fifth, let alone saying you. And four, I'm willing to bet you don't either. I guarantee you don't. I'm willing to bet that the way that you learned how to make salah was from Sifatu Salatul Nabi. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. Or Sunnah. These little pamphlets. Let me see if I can find a section about Salah on here. Look at this. At the beginning of this book. This right, just in this book, all these pages is discussing Aqid. All these pages. And that's just an introduction. This is just, hey, do this, don't do that. Believe this, don't believe that. I guarantee you don't know that. Just that section. I guarantee you don't. Look how many pages just on wudu. Look. Look at these pages. Just on wudu. Look at this. And this is stuff that you gotta know. Stuff that you gotta memorize. All these pages. Just on wudu. Y'all don't follow all four of the schools. Y'all don't follow one school. Okay, so let me disprove the claim, Meech. And once again, I'm a jokester, so I ain't trying to make you look bad in front of people. And then I appreciate your participation, and I believe that you are going to be a very smart person, and you're going to be a person of knowledge. inshallah ta'ala, per Quran and Sunnah from Ahmad Sunnah or Jama'ah, because you're commenting the most. That means that you have an inquisitive mind. Imam Shafi'i once was asked, "How did you become so smart?" And he said, "With a busy tongue." Alhamdulillah. So that's a good character trait of yours, Meech. I actually had a brother. He used to be a Salafi. He wanted to put hands on me when I was in the joint with our sheikh. I used to come with a notebook full of questions. And at the end of each lesson, sheikh would be like, "Anybody got questions?" And I'd be like, "Yeah." I pull out my notebook and I start flipping through my thing. I think I got some. I got some of that stuff. I get, turn it up. Come on. This is what happens when you let your wife organize your stuff on your desk and your study table. Stuff gets misorganized. Women, they organize stuff like how they do. Like she organized my stuff like how she does her perfumes and oils and stuff. All the wives, I'm getting y'all fatwa now. Stop touching y'all husband's stuff. Do y'all fatwa right now. Look at this. These is all questions I used to write when I was with the Sheikh. This is before I had a computer. Look at this. Front and back. I used to write out the questions, and when Sheikh answered them, I used to answer them. Then I got a little crafty. I started working in the library, and I started. What is this? Oh, this is the history of Islam. I was doing some research on the Shia. And then I used to make my own indexes in the back, all hand. I was Sheikh gave me this. More questions and answers. This is all from over 10 years ago. Sheikh. And this was in prison. No, but mind you, we like sometimes we didn't have no book, so everything I could find that I could write on, grabbing and writing. When I was learning, when I first started leading prayer, I have to say, photocopy this for me. The chapter of leading Salah Sahih Bukhari, no Sahih Muslim, and he was teaching me the ahkam of leading the Salah. The Imam in the prayer, all these notes. This small photocopy. So I was working in the library, so I was able to get access to the books, and I was able to photocopy them because that way I could speed up my learning on paper. More questions and stuff. Whatever. So it's good that you have a lot to say, brother. Very good. This is one of the ways that you are going to knowledge and your participation. We were just talking about this in one of my Akita classes today. Your participation is helping other people get clarification. They might think of something. They might something and not say it. Might be shy to say it or whatever. So your participation is getting a response, allowing everybody else to see it. So good. But so let's dispel this thing that Imam Malik wasn't an Ash'ari. Imam Ash'ari was a Malik. Don't let that go over your. Don't let that go over your goofy. Student of knowledge, and I'm going to hold you accountable to tell me what that statement means. Imam Malik was not an Ash'ari, but Ash'ari was a Maliki. Okay. Seriously, he made time from believe 7. What are you talking about? I don't know what book specifically. I just heard someone saying this car over. He talking about. Nope. Nope. Who? Imam Ash'ari made Tawbah? Akil Abdurrahman wa alayhi salam. Uh, what book was what? Which book? Oh, this was the called Islam in the good book. I think the Divine Press, yeah, the Divine Press printed this. Uh, gifted me this book. This how real shuyukh do. Once I got past Ibn Ashur, he gave me a recital of Ibn Abi Zayd in all Arabic. It was like learn this, do this, learn this, and then come back. I ain't been back yet. I did Risala, but he told me to translate. Like he sent it to me in all Arabic. He wanted me to translate as my studies. I started, I didn't. Now I use it as reference to translate certain parts, and that's the rest. No, he didn't make Toba touch. That's a lie. Um, he made Toba the first time when he was 40, from being a Mu'tazili. That was it. And then after that, he died as an Ash'ari, as an adherent of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. The Salafis say that to try to get out of, um, just try to get out of it, to make an argument. But from within the Ash'ari Madhab, there's no change from that. Nobody says that. That's not reported by any Ash'ari scholar. Not one. That was all made up, a few years ago. That's not true. That's not a dance. Okay, yeah. I realize, wait a minute, they can't spread. You crazy. All right, y'all. Like you said, bring you up. Okay, how you doing? Send me the invite. What time is it? We ain't got too long because my group is getting ready to come in. I don't know how to add people on the beach. I don't know how to do it. Send the invite. All right, sorry this is being so long. We back up to 2 hours. But the lesson aspect of it, we was at an hour and 13 minutes. And inshallah ta'ala, uh, next week I'll finish it and give a comparison on how Ibn Abdul Wahhab contradicted Ibn Kathir's tafsir. Ibn Kathir is an accepted mufassir. Ibn Abdul Wahhab is not an accepted mufassir. Ibn Abdul Wahhab doesn't even have a tafsir. We know everybody knows Ibn Tafsir Ibn Kathir. So we're going to bring the question to the Wahhabis: Why is y'all Why are y'all contradicting the Tafsir Ibn Kathir if y'all following the Quran and Sunnah according to where the Salaf? Why? Everybody dies with the hate on their chest. I said, you silly, I'm done up slime. You silly. Right. Uh, Meech, send the invite so you can come up. We got a little bit of time before Margaret. I mean, damn, was Abu Bakr what? Was he a Maliki Ash'ari? Yeah, you're right, amigo. Ibn Abdul Wahab did try to spread his movement to Southeast Asia, but the Hanafis down there are gangster. Hanafis down there is gangster. They won't go not in the least. Yeah, you're right. They set up the Deobandi with the Hanafi up underneath the Hanafi foot. That's kind of what the Salafi Wahhabis are doing. That's what they're doing right now. They're since we've been exposing them because we have the internet now. They've been hiding. A lot of them have been hiding up the $100 fifth, and it's just as of recently because if you've been following this for a while, they used to go against all four of the schools, all three of the schools of Aqid, even Ahmad ibn Hanbal. They didn't blind follow nobody. But now, all of a sudden, they call themselves Athari. This is a new phenomenon. Like every time we bust their head, like when we bust their head how false Ibn Abdul Wahhab's movement was, then they switch and start calling themselves Salafi. And now we've been busting their heads about being Salafia left and right. Um, Now they've been changing themselves. Oh no, no, no! I'm Ahl Hadith. I'm Athari. Like using these terms that originate, in the time of Salaf and the time of Salaf. Yeah, so you're right. Like they like to morph and shape shift. and they started adopting the belief system. And I'm actually working with a few of the Hanabila. The Hanabila don't accept the Salafis. They don't accept them in there. They're just not loud enough for them to say so because Salafis have, I mean, they have Dr. Rahman Hassans, they have Hassan Somalis. They got what's the guy named Abu Taymiyyah. They got all these superstars. What's the one guy? They got the British guys. What's that British guy name? Got the Ali Dawa or whatever. What's his name? Whatever. I don't follow the British too much. They actually be hard for me to follow. Seriously, they have to move into Philly from Dallas, Texas. You should not do that, brother. You should not do that. Stay in Dallas, and Dallas has my sheikh helped found one of the biggest modalities there in Dallas. They got a strong Hanafi. They got a strong Hanafi community um, in Dallas, man. Don't do that because if you go to Philadelphia, you're not gonna have access to none of the scholars of Ahlul Jama'ah. That is all Wahhabied out. Anywhere, any direction that you turn, you're gonna run into Wahhabi Masjid, and then you're gonna be shut out of the knowledge of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. You're gonna turn into one of these closed-minded individuals that believes Philadelphia, the entire Muslim community, the entire world. You know, I know about Muhammad ibn is a good watch him. I don't like nobody yelling at me. Brother, I don't know what his call is, but he yelled too much. I don't like that. It means you learn from your sister trouble. You crazy? Well, I mean, Dent said it was Abu Bakr al-Maliki. Okay, so another misnomer. Just it gets tiring over again. So since Ibn Abdul Wahhab has tricked everybody into following pamphlets and not following the actual scholastic tradition of Ahlul Sunnah, y'all don't know about this, the science of this. The science of Isnad is the way that we certify knowledge. Our scholars have said without an Isnad, anybody can say anything. It's just the problem that we have. They're just saying anything. So the way that you can protect the way that our knowledge is protected, we have a science called SNAD. Uh, uh, SNAD is a chain. So the chain goes from the person who said X, Y, and Z from another person, from another person, from another person, from another person, back to the Sahaba and the Prophet. So the answer to your question, Abu Bakr al-Malik, no, that's impossible because Imam Malik lived after the time of Abu Bakr. But let me tell you this, Imam Malik has the best chain of transmission of Islam. Your you don't have any Islam. I mean, then you don't have any Islam. You don't have your precious Quran and Hadith if it not be for the Islam system. What do I mean by this? The Islam system is, for example, the chain of generation, like I just described, is from Malik, from Nafi', from Ibn Umar. Like Malik learned from Nafi', Nafi' learned from Ibn Umar. Do the Salafis believe that Ibn Umar was on a different aqidah, a different minhaj, a different fiqh than Abu Bakr? Because then y'all would be accusing Omar of being on a different fiqh than Abu Bakr. So you can't go straight from the hadith narration to Abu Bakr. If you even, I mean, if you look at the hadith opus, uh, you'll see that Abu Bakr has the least amount of hadiths transmitted. So that argument works against y'all in so many ways. So it goes like this. Umar taught Ibn Umar. Ibn Umar taught Nafi. Nafi taught Malik. Khalas. Closed case, my guy. So all the Salafi teachers that came after him, they don't have those chains. They didn't even live in the time period to be able to be in those chains. And Imam Ash'ari is in of those chains. So that's the answer to that question. So what Malik taught us was passed down from Umar. Umar and Abu Bakr were on the same minhaj. So what Malik had, what Abu Hanifa had, what Shafi'i had, what Ahmad ibn Hanbal had, was passed down to them from the Sahaba. Y'all wouldn't know anything what the Sahaba ever taught had not been passed down to the four Imams. All the hadiths and fiqh books and all that stuff, all of that have come out of the four Imams. Yeah. Where's the best?
No, we have to throw it back to it. Yeah. Because we took our bikes there.
Oh, that's cool. All right. Now we just there's up in Sunnah in New Jersey. That's a good place. Put me up on that one up slime. I'm not here. That's where my wife from. She's from Newark. She one of the original followers out. She's first generation. We was joking with her. First generation. All right. Listen, I love y'all for the sake if anybody have any questions, comments, and concerns, y'all inbox me on TikTok. You can inbox me on Facebook or Instagram. Instagram, Brother Kabir. Facebook, Abdul Kabir Muhammad Al Maliki. If you leave a comment on YouTube, it's probably gonna take a while to get back to it. The YouTube comments is crazy and it's just all over the place. So I don't go through that much. But you can reach me directly through my socials. No problem, Dawood Musa. It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. All right, I love y'all for the sake of Allah. We'll be back probably this weekend because I'm going back to work tomorrow. Inshallah ta'ala. Love y'all for the sake of Allah. Make sure y'all like, share, and subscribe. Don't be a hater. It don't cost you nothing. Assalamu alaikum.